to invite, without further ado, Justice Gogoi for speaking on the same topic.
Very good afternoon to everybody. I wonder how much time I have. The package, your webinar package is for about an hour. We had a great start. It was wonderful listening to Mr. Lekhi. He was, as usual, brilliant as in court. I had listened to him again and again and again for 5 years. He was as good today. I will take about 15 minutes. I'll come down to ground realities. And then I would naturally like to leave some time for some questions. This is my personal opinion, and it is a little negative. Debates, discussions, seminars of late have lost their academic and intellectual character. At the slightest opportunity, they become events of vilification of the idea, if not of the person entertaining the idea. At the very outset, when the introduction was made, Mr. Siddharth talked about the reaction in social media to this webinar and my participation. These are the people who believe in the concept of the independence of the judiciary, but they would not permit an individual, a former Chief Justice, to have independent thought and express it. The more I heard about these expressions of opinion, the more determined I became to take part in this webinar. And that's how I am here. Independence of the judiciary. Contemporary challenges is the broad area on which I am required to address you. Independence of the judiciary, I would put in two categories: independence of the institution and the independence of the individual judge. So far as independence of the institution is concerned, I start with the appointment system, the collegium system. I have been a part and parcel of the collegium for 3 years, from 19th of November 2016 to 17th of November 2019. For 3 years, I have been a member of the collegium. The collegium is a judicial evolution. If you have problems with that evolution, the resolution has to be within the law. My experience with the collegium system has been that it is a sure way of keeping executive interference out of the appointment process. Not that the executive does not have a role. The executive has a role. The executive is a partner in the decision-making process leading to appointments. But the executive is not an equal partner. The judicial voice is the ultimate voice. In my tenure as the Chief Justice of India, the collegium recommended 14 names for appointment to the Supreme Court. 14, 1-4. Nearly half of the Supreme Court. These recommendations were accepted and the appointment orders came in no time. Never for a moment there was any difficulty. The collegium headed by me recommended about 24, 25 Chief Justices of the High Courts. All the recommendations came through in record time. Any problem with the names? Fine judges. No executive interference. Never for a moment. What is the problem? You see, a perception that Judge A is better suited to be elevated to the Supreme Court than Judge B is an individual perception that a person may entertain. But the final decision has to be between person A and person B and to be taken by the collegium. Between A and B, if both are good judges, and the collegium opts for B, and somebody feels that no, it should have opted for A, that doesn't make the system right. That doesn't make the alignment right. Now, Mr. Lekhi has mentioned transparency. No, it's like the choosing between the devil and the deep sea. How much of transparency? Ground realities. Mr. Lekhi has mentioned, and it's a fact. You don't find a person suitable, either an advocate or a subordinate district judge. You won't find him suitable for appointment. You have your reasons. You put these reasons in the public domain, the man suffers. His family suffers. If you don't put it in the public domain, it is not a transparent process. What the collegium, so far as I am concerned, did was to briefly record the reasons and put it in the public domain, giving an indication of the sources of the information which has led to the conclusion as to why the person is not suitable. Presently, I find that the collegium resolutions are even more brief. I have nothing to say about that. Transfers. Each transfer has a reason which may not be very complementary to the transferee judge. If these reasons which are not complementary are to be brought on the public domain, it will not only affect the future of the judge, the future functioning of that particular judge, it may also cast a doubt and give room for speculation to the judgments that he has delivered. If for some good reasons a particular judge is to be transferred from High Court A to High Court B, if the reasons are in the public domain, I, for one, can foresee a long line of review petitions seeking review of the judgments passed by that particular judge. What do you do? Therefore, we have a system which has worked, which is working fine. The problem is not with the system. The problem may be, if there is one, with the individuals who are running the system. And here, the problem necessarily need not be amongst the collegium members. The problems could come from outside the collegium, but within the judicial fraternity. Beyond that, I don't think I should say anything. So, the problem lies with the individuals. Why do you blame the system? The NJC was an exercise that was stillborn. I don't wish to comment on the merits of the judgment, but the judgment to my mind is a very simple, short one, where thousands of pages have been written. The composition of the issue boiled down to the two independent persons who is to select them. The collegium that was to select the two individual persons who form the commission is the Prime Minister, the Chief Justice of India, and the leader of the opposition. The court took the view that since out of 6, there are only 3 judges, and the other 3 judges are the other 3 members. One is the law minister, and the other 2 are the eminent persons to be chosen by this collegium. It is not a fair system. It has its impact on the independence of the judiciary. The judicial voice, the predominant judicial voice, is sought to be protected. This is the basis of the judgment. So we are back to the collegium system. In my mind, it's an excellent system. It has worked well. It has stood the test of time. And perhaps some amount of self-restraint, some amount of discipline, some amount of greater responsibility of all who are associated with the collegium system can even make it work better. There will always be a section of people who will not be satisfied. The idea is not to satisfy anybody. The idea is to be true to the work that the law and the constitution has assigned to the judge. So this is an institutional protection so far as independence of the judiciary as an institution is concerned. Now, Mr. Leakey mentioned something about an in-house procedure. I don't think I should be hesitating in telling you that every week the number of complaints regarding judges and their conduct in different areas, in adjudication process, outside court, acquisition of property, this, that. The number of complaints that come before the Chief Justice of India every week would be around 300. 300 complaints. Each of these complaints have to be attended to, numbered, and entered in the register. And the Chief Justice is required to take a call as to what should be done. Now, so far as the complaints or allegations against the judge is concerned, that can be inquired into in 2 ways. One is, I would say, the parliamentary route, where 100 members of the Lok Sabha or 50 members of the Rajya Sabha moves an impeachment motion. That impeachment motion, if admitted, is preceded by an inquiry under the Judges' Inquiry Act. But when there are 300 complaints against judges every week, you can't have the parliament getting into all that unless the matter is very, very serious. The Chief Justice takes a call. Now, if the Chief Justice finds, I'm talking about the Chief Justice of India, because if the complaint is to the Chief Justice of a High Court, it is sent to the Chief Justice of India. Now, if the Chief Justice of India takes a call that the complaint is serious enough, the first thing he can do under the in-house procedure is to call for comments of the judge concerned. Now, the in-house procedure, evolved in 1999, is available on the Supreme Court website. Please read it. I don't think many people have read it. It contemplates a 3-stage process. If the complaint expressly does not disclose any room to go ahead, the Chief Justice of India dismisses it at the threshold, which he does perhaps in all the 300 cases. If the complaint discloses something, the Chief Justice also report or the comments of the judge concerned. On receipt of the comments of the judge, it can be dropped at that stage. It's only if the comments do not satisfy, we will go for an inquiry. This is the in-house inquiry. The procedure of in-house inquiry is common to a High Court judge, to a Supreme Court Chief Justice of a High Court, to a Supreme Court judge, and the Chief Justice of India. It's one procedure. It does not contemplate participation of lawyers, witnesses, cross-examination. No. It does not contemplate participation of outsiders. It is an in-house inquiry. What happens at the end of the inquiry? If the complaint is to be dismissed, the report is not to be made public. There is a good reason. It may embarrass the judge. The frivolous complaint may embarrass the judge. If the complaint is found to be of substance, the judge is asked to step down. If he doesn't step down, he is asked to abstain or ordered to abstain from doing judicial work, and the matter is referred to the President and the Prime Minister taking the impeachment route. So it's not that the in-house inquiry is ineffective. If a judge is indicted to the in-house inquiry, he either has to quit on his own, failing which the matter will take the impeachment route because the report of the inquiry goes to the President and the Prime Minister. And then the judge's inquiry comes in, and there will be a full-fledged inquiry of witnesses, lawyers, etc., etc. This is the constitutional scheme of protection of judges. In today's context, I think this scheme needs to be strengthened. As the Chief Justice of India for 13 months, I found good people not wanting to become judges. I found young members of the bar not keen to become judges. Why? The office of the judge of a high court, the high judiciary, has been made so vulnerable that a lawyer would be happy to continue as a lawyer. Don't forget the sacrifice that a lawyer makes when he becomes a judge. And from the smallest to the most lucrative high court, there is some sacrifice. It may vary in degree. Why would a lawyer give up a lucrative profession to come into a thankless job and face the vagaries of the situation where there is no protection? All you need to defame a judge today or to bring allegations against him is a complaint supported by an affidavit. Perhaps you need a lawyer, and perhaps you need a web portal. The judge is finished. The allegations may be unfounded, or found to be unfounded, but the damage is done. Which reasonable lawyer earning a good amount of fees would jump into this situation and want to become a judge? Therefore, in my mind, the in-house procedure has taken adequate care of safeguarding the constitutional protection afforded to the judges. At the same time, it provides for avenues for complainants to come and address the system. Again, I would say it needs to be strengthened. For the last 20 years, this in-house procedure has been in vogue. The details of the procedure have been uploaded on the Supreme Court website. of late, a couple of years back. And I think, in my considered view, we need to strengthen this. You don't drive a judge to an inquiry straight away, where witnesses come and say all kinds of things. He won't be able to function. And if you do that, I see that sufficient disincentive for any right-thinking lawyer to want to become a judge. God help the system. These are basically, apart from that, you have, it's too elementary to say the salary of the judges. You can attack. It enjoys a constitutional protection. It's charged on the consolidated fund. Whether the parliament passes a budget or not, the salary of the judges is assured. The judges won't stop. You can't stop the judges. Now, this is the institutional protection to ensure the independence of the judiciary as an institution. Now we come to the independence of the individual judge. See, traditionally, the necessity of insulation of a judge was felt to be from predatory attacks of the executive. The executive, in this way or the other, trying to influence the judge in the adjudicatory process. This is a danger. Speaking for myself, I can say I did not experience it. But it is a possibility. But adding to this, it is my considered view that there is an equally dangerous, if not more, source that attacks or can attack the independence of the judiciary. Today, what we have in our country is an ideological group of people, call them activists, call them believers, call them leftists, call them whatever we may. The number of this group of people is far too less than the public space that they occupy. They're very loud. Then you have the social media. You have particular web portals. You have particular examples of mainstream media, both electronic and print. And on top of that, you have intellectuals. This is one group who have laid down identification marks for an independent judge. Who is an independent judge has been identified. And how it has been identified, what are these qualities? I find that these qualities are: a judge must be necessarily anti-establishment. He must be anti-authoritarianism, authoritarian. He must be eloquent on issues like rich-poor divide, oppression of the marginalized, issues pertaining to suppression of fundamental rights. And he must advocate free speech, even to the extent of touching the frontiers of defamation. These are the identification marks of an independent judge. And unless he satisfies them, he is not true to his oath. This is the danger. There is a group of people who expect judges to exercise their constitutional duties in a particular manner. And if you don't conform, you become the target of attack. The danger again lies in the system not being able to meet this threat to the independence of the judiciary, which can spell disaster. It will affect, if it has not already affected, present judges, and it will be a disincentive for good people to come and join the bench. I think we need to seriously ponder over these issues. You know, my experience has been that whenever you are in the midst of a hearing of a case, and naturally in the first court of the country, all cases are sensitive. If opinions are expressed as to whether the bench is thinking correctly or not, next stage is indication of expectations of what the bench should do. And number three, if the bench does it, it's an independent bench, true to the oath and the Constitution. If the bench doesn't do it, attack the judge, not criticize the judgment, as Mr. Lekhi was mentioning. You don't criticize the judgment, you attack the judge. And when you start doing it, the message goes down. Behave. Think in a particular way. Act in a particular way. This is destructive of the independence of the judiciary. I believe I am in the midst of young people who are the future of the Indian judiciary. Give it a thought. Give it a thought. The system is not averse to criticism. There is room for improvement in everybody, including the Chief Justice of India. But for heaven's sake, be dignified in your attack. Let there be an honest intellectual and academic exercise so far as judgments are concerned. Don't impute, not imputation of motives. It is destructive of the very concept that you are trying to protect, or which this section of people profess to protect. I don't think I should be saying anything more. I thank the CAN Foundation for this wonderful opportunity. In spite of all the technical glitches and limitations of technology, I hope you have been able to hear me. Thank you.